Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Post in Black, where we celebrate Black excellence behind the lens. Today, we have a very, very, very special episode. We are in person here in Los Angeles at Dr. Self-Tape with my guys, and we have a very special guest with us, Dominique Ulloa. Oh, the chair, the founder of Ujima Entertainment Coalition, and an editor. How you doing, Dom?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you. You know, we are excited. We know we know you. We know the work that you do, and just I appreciate you taking time out to be with us. So on the video and for the audio for those of us listening.
Most definitely.
Now, we always start Posting Black with an icebreaker. So can we start off with that with you?
Yes.
All right. If you had only one show to watch for the rest of your life, what show would that be? You know,
one show for the rest of my life.
Just one show
to watch that I could just watch over and over again. Mm-hmm. Oh God, there's a couple.
Okay,
but you know, and I just recently had this conversation this weekend with a group of black editors, black female editors. Mm-hmm. Shout out to sisters who edit.
Yeah. Okay. Shout out.
I really love this show from Japan, and it's called Old Enough.
Old Enough.
And where they send toddlers on just chores and like things to do, like they send them through the neighborhood.
Oh wow!
And they're like 3 and 4 years old, and
really?
It just shows like a toddler like what they would do if you told them to go to the store. And the difference in Japanese and American culture is striking as they teach their children that strangers are helpful. Yeah. Strangers are not a danger. They're here we're a community. Mm-hmm. You know, you could go ask somebody to come, and like the whole community would come out in these little like ancient Japanese villages and help the toddlers go along. And, you know, they might go off and run and play with their dog for like 40 minutes and forget like what they were supposed to do. It's just really cute. But like I work on so much chaos all the time.
I see.
I like just nice, simple, peaceful. Things that are good for my subconscious, good for my spirit, feel good, nice, light, happy stuff.
I'm not mad at it. Old enough. I mean, I used to work with children. I used to be an elementary school teacher, first and second grade. And so that you talking about 3 and 4 year olds. I mean, children, they're special. They are special, and they really just like there's something different in the uniqueness, the pureness to it. So I'm smiling thinking about this show that you're talking about.
It's the cutest. You guys go check out Old Enough.
Old Enough. Are we on Netflix?
On Netflix.
Okay, so it's binge worthy too.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's what in the episodes are only like 10 minutes long.
Oh, see.
So you're just like getting through them like that.
Oh no, you done put me on to something. See, that's genius. That's genius.
Right.
Well, that's cool. Now I would ask you this. I don't know, personal. Do you have children of your own?
Yes,
as well?
I have 2 children. Well, I don't know if I can call them children anymore. I have a 22-year-old who is a senior at Cal State LA.
Okay.
And I have an 18-year-old daughter who just started as a freshman at Hampton University.
Oh, come on. You got to say that school again.
Hampton University.
Hampton University. You know what I mean?
Go Pirates.
Go Pirates. Y'all heard it right there from Don. When Don puts the stamp of approval on, it's Hampton. Y'all already know what it is. We love to see it. We love to hear it. And just congrats to them because, you know, college and first, whether you're going to JC, anything, that's a big achievement. So and you got 2 in school. So congrats to you, Mom.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's all right. All right. Well, we're gonna dive in a little bit, obviously, while we're here Posting Black. You know, tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, where you're from and how you even got started in post-production. Like what made you want to be an editor?
Oh gosh. This story is so long.
You said, where do we start?
Yeah, where do we start?
That's okay.
This story is so long, but I like to share this story just to give like hope to people who have unconventional pathways to get to post-production and all of the hurdles that it takes. Like I said, I have a 22-year-old and an 18-year-old. So I have my children fairly young, you know. And when they were 6 and 2, I decided to quit everything and go back to school because I was tired of it. Like I had my son in my junior year in college, and I stopped going to school for like 6 years. And by that time, I had 2 kids, and I put up to my job. I was a property manager, and I just hated it. I hated it. So what happened? And I was married at the time. I was married to my kid's father, and I put up to my job, and no disrespect, but I was just like, I'm quitting you. I'm quitting you. I'm taking my kids. I'm moving with my auntie. I'm going back to school full time.
Right.
So
hey, it's like that sometimes.
Sometimes as a woman, you have to make those decisions.
Be intentional. You got to go.
Yeah. So 2 years later, like I got my degree, but like while I was at the program at Cal State LA, I was majoring in radio, film, and television, and like I started off, I really wanted to be in development. Like I thought that was going to be my pathway. Like I want to be an executive, and I want to wear a suit, and I want to be on the lot. Da 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 da. Shout out to all the development executives.
Right. I'm not going to say that's not a bad job.
It's not a bad job,
but
right?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But the pathway to that is, oftentimes you start off as a receptionist or you start off an assistant.
Yeah.
And I had just got finished making $500 a week. So I couldn't take on that for another 5 years after I did all these hoops, to graduate from college.
Right.
I had to make some money. So I was just, at Cal State LA, and I just decided to take an editing class just to help my friends with their projects. So I, when you were doing student projects and stuff, I could just be more helpful, this and this and that. So I made an experimental video.
Okay.
And it ended up winning Best Experimental Editing at the Rise Up Film Festival at Cal State LA.
Wow.
And I also won Best Documentary.
Wow.
So I had all this stuff, and I still didn't know what to do with it. And I just got a job in my senior year at Cal State LA working for the paparazzi.
Oh,
and
really?
so this is 2008. This is like when Britney Spears is shaving her head and like all this stuff. And, we're getting the shots, and like I'm doing all this paparazzi stuff. But then, it was a way for me to make some kind of edit money. It was, $25 an hour was you doing good.
It's not bad.
You're doing good. I was like, okay, I'm doing making $1,000 a week. Like, don't you know? We my life is getting better already.
Yeah. So
I, flounder around a little bit in the industry, like going back and forth, not knowing if I wanted to, be in post. I was really kind of discouraged because I really didn't feel like I could compete.
Why'd you feel like that?
Because it's just such a technical, white male dominated industry. I was like, I'm not as good as you guys. I don't know. Da 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 da. But I had the creativity.
Right.
So I, was going back and forth, and still didn't know what I wanted to do. And what ended up happening is that I got hired as a temp at the Oprah Winfrey Network.
Wow.
Yes.
What was that like?
Oh my God. Okay. So this is during the launch of the Oprah Winfrey Network.
Okay.
And people ask me, can you work under pressure? I'm like, have you ever worked for the launch for Oprah?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
pressure.
Right. You want to know what pressure is?
Shout out Ari Lennox. You know right.
So I got hired as a temp at the Oprah Winfrey Network. And I got hired along with like 50 other temps.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was like,
okay.
I'm like, okay, but they messed up because they let me through the front door. And I had been trying, like, I really like speak about manifestation. I had, even when I was pregnant with my son and Oprah came out with Oxygen, like 99, 2000.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that would be a good place for me to work. Like do something like that.
Wow.
And then a couple months before I got hired as a temp, I had got an email, HR email from somebody, and the HR lady, shout out to Talia, like her name sounded Black.
Yeah.
So I just was sending her hella emails like, here's my resume, and I'm just da-da-da-da-da. No response, but it's all good.
Shout out to
Talia. And also shout out to Angie Dugan, who was the receptionist there.
Oh, come on now. Angie Dugan?
Yes.
Dugan is my girl.
Yes. And Angie
world.
Was the receptionist there.
I remember.
I went up there and I gave my resume to Angie, and I'm like, sis, like, I'm trying to get in. Of course, it leads to nothing. But lo and behold, I got hired as a temp.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, God, I'm going to get this. They let me walk through the front door. So y'all messed up.
Right.
So by the first week of being a temp there, I was in charge of all the temps.
Wow.
And so
you had a leadership
I just always, but I was
to you.
focused. Like I was focused. Like no one was going to work harder than me. No one was going to come earlier than me.
Right.
I was offering suggestions. I was trying to solve problems. Like I was really trying to go for it.
Right.
And sure enough, I was in charge of all the temps. And then from there, they hired me to go into development. And then from there, they hired me as an assistant editor on one of their behind the scenes shows because I had editing skills.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, we need an AE for our behind the scenes show. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is my chance. And so, one day I'm looking and I still don't know what I want to do. Like, I'm still thinking like, dang, do I want to go in development? Like, all this other stuff, didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then one day I saw the budget. And then the editor that I was working for was making $700 a day.
Come on now.
And I was like, from now on, y'all call me editor. That's my name. From now on, I'm an editor. I'm not known as nothing else. I'm an editor. Call me editor. That's my profession. This is what I do. And I got hired. I was hired as staff as employee number 2 of post-production operations at the Oprah Winfrey Network. Wow. And that's how I started my career.
Come on now. You looked at the budget, and that's key. And I think that's something that's speaking to a lot of people trying to get in the industry or people working. Sometimes, we don't move up or we don't move forward because of a lack of knowledge. Mm-hmm. So when you had exposure to what you were able to see, you're like, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. That's what's going on in this room.
Right.
Okay, and my brother, I think that's one of the things he talks about, people not having exposure to it. You just don't know there's a possibility for that. Mm-hmm. So being a temp, Oprah Winfrey Network, making those connections and moves, that first job there, that was the springboard to a few different channels. What kind of took you next? And
from there, I stayed with network television. I went over to the Africa channel.
Gotcha.
And was in network operations and being an assistant editor there. And the guys that I worked with there and the girls that I worked with there, like we're still friends to this day. It was an all Black environment, which I had never been in before. So we became like really good friends. Those are my friends to this day. And then from there, I went into really freelance AEing.
I see. And I guess I have a question too, just about what skill do you feel like allows you to be, because it's one thing to say, oh, I want to be an editor, I want to be there. But you had an interest, you're like, oh, I could do this and get it. But what like characteristic or innate skill that you feel like you already had in you to kind of see projects to want, to make yourself a good editor? Because it's one thing to want to do it, but you were getting hired. That means you had skill to do it.
Well, here's the thing about editors.
Yeah.
Editors are writers, but we just write with pictures.
Come on now.
So if you, we're storytellers just like anyone else.
Yeah.
I can write really well. I just don't have the patience to sit down at no computer and for 6 hours and write. I don't have that type of focus. Mm-hmm. But I know what good stories are. I know what captures my attention. Mm-hmm. And I think if you have the penchant to tell a story and a little bit of marketing, a little bit of razzle dazzle. Yeah. Those are the things that make editors. It's also rhythm.
Yeah.
It's rhythm. You have and I think Black people make amazing editors just because we come from a culture that's musical and and rhythmic, and we can certain things you're trying to cut on the edit and cut on this and this and this and this and that. It's good to have a musicality when you're doing that. And so those are the kind of skill sets. But I think more than anything, you have to be a storyteller. Yeah. And I think a lot of times people can do things really good technically, but not necessarily know how to make the story sing.
I see. I love how you put that. Editors are writers. That's beautiful, but you write with pictures. And I think as I've matured and grown, because I didn't come into the industry as a in post, but I've noticed things over the years, and now I have an eye. I'm like, no, that's not it. Right. You know what I mean? Right. You can identify it quickly. And I'm like, man, who cut this? Right. Or who did this? Or who put it together? Because it's not flowing or it's not meshed together, or there's something that's missing. And it's just, like you said, I think that rhythm. And God is good. He done blessed us with these genes to be able to move like that. Yes. I mean, so obviously Oprah Winfrey Network was the starting ground. that's a high starting ground. You know what I mean? Like, so the relationships maybe that come from having that first gig,
my
how did that
gosh.
work into your freelance life, you know,
Well,
as you got other opportunities possibly, or talk about the difficulty maybe.
freelance transitioning to freelance was rough.
Okay.
Like and it's always a scary proposition, 'cause especially if you got kids.
Yeah.
You know, and
When's
I
that
think
next job coming from?
yeah, exactly. And I think I steered towards network work for the stability. Like I wanted a staff job, you know, like I didn't want to freelance. And I was kind of forced to do it because, you know, the networks have layoffs.
Yes, they
Oprah
do.
Winfrey Network, they let off 30% of their staff after the first year.
Wow.
I was part of that.
Wow.
So it's like, you know, you kind of have to get yourself out there and like kind of take the leap.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. I'm not even going to lie. Like, it's hard. You may need a second job. You may need a grind.
Yeah. But you just wanted to, I say, even with that, you know, coming from the actor standpoint, people are like, I don't know how you do it and face the rejection all the time. But it's a similar thing when you're doing it from your standpoint.
100%.
And then you speak to like being a woman, a black woman, and you have leadership capability, like you're strong and all that. But still, you walk into that room and there's nobody that looks like you. You talk about how that kind of attacks the psyche and the mental and all those things. Like even with having the skill set, even with having the backing of Oprah,
You
like
know,
how is that?
I had to make my own lane
Yeah.
because it was clear that not only were people not trying to help me, not only the assumption was I didn't know what I was doing. First of all, picture it, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm going into the industry. I'm 30 years old. I have 2 children. I'm a single mother, and I'm working with nothing but young white men. They don't think I know shit.
Right.
They think I'm in some kind of welfare to work program or something.
Yeah. How'd you get here? Who recommended
yeah,
you to
like
be
who,
here?
and they just automatically just, you know, wouldn't take my suggestions, wouldn't listen to me, and even to the point would sabotage me. Like I came in and people who work with me know and vouch for this story, and they know it's 100% true. There was instances where I would come into my edit bay and my white coworker had gone through my emails while I'm at lunch. There's instances where we'll be in meetings and that same coworker would be standing outside the door talking about what were they talking about? What were they saying? And instances where like I had my awards from Cal State LA.
Yeah.
Those awards ripped off the wall and thrown on the floor.
It's crazy.
Taking like I had a little clock that someone gave me from a show and take that clock and throw it behind the thing. Like I was my edit bay was being vandalized.
That's crazy. You know, I'm taking Krav Maga right now. You know, I got some choke from behind moves that we need to implement.
No,
You know?
it was crazy.
It's
and
crazy.
Then and then I would go tell the general manager who was black. I'd like to say that on record, and he didn't do a damn thing about it.
That's crazy.
And it was one of those like, oh, you know, such and such crazy. He's not going to do anything, you know. Oh, and it happened. I remember it happened right when the shooting, Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook.
Yeah. Okay.
Right about
Yeah.
that same time. And I called another EP and I was like, look, I'm really scared of this guy. I don't know what he's capable of. He's vandalizing my edit bay. He's acting crazy. You guys won't do anything about it. Like, what do I do? And in hindsight, I could have sued.
Yeah.
Like, I was just so happy to have a job.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to rock the boat because I had kids.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to find employment after Oprah Winfrey Network. So I especially didn't want to mess anything up.
Right.
But like, it was those type of instances that really like I faced. And even at the Oprah Winfrey Network, you know, there was instances where I would walk into a meeting and I'd be the only female and be completely ignored. You know, because it's post.
Yeah.
And post in Oprah Winfrey Network, their post production is run by Discovery.
Yeah.
You know, then and the executives from Discovery, you know, they don't give a shit about Oprah.
Right.
You know, these white men come in here, hey, we're doing this and that, da, 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 da. I mean, wouldn't even acknowledge me in the meeting. Like those types of obstacles. So
that's a lot to handle, you know, and I want to segue real quick to ask you this question. Is there, when in these spaces, was there ever like a mentor or somebody that you could you look to or somebody else? Because we have the experiences of not having somebody there, but maybe having somebody like Dom. You can vent to me. You can talk to me and let me know what's going on.
No, not in those instances. Like my peers knew what was going on, but they were pretty powerless because we were, we're
same
colleagues.
Yeah.
It just was falling on deaf ears. And I will say the people who did advance my career outside of my own community are queer men and women.
Yeah.
Who, it was a queer woman who knew what it felt like to be marginalized at Oprah Winfrey Network and to say, hey, why don't you give Dominique a chance? It was a queer man who gave me my first opportunity to edit for television.
Wow.
Like, why don't you just give her a chance? Because they understood what it was like to be marginalized.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say I would have like necessarily mentors. There are people who I've met along the way that I looked up to, but in that initial stages of transitioning from being an AE to an editor, I mean, it was brutal.
That's a lot.
It was brutal.
That's a lot to handle. And I guess this is the part of the show where I want to ask too, that kind of lends to what piece of advice would you give to people coming into the industry? Because, you're from LA. A lot of people move here. I mean, I moved here. I've been here a long time now, but people move here and they have this opinion of what LA is when they get here, and it's a rude awakening.
Yeah.
I tell people, I'm like, don't let the sunshine and the palm trees fool you.
No, it's cold world out here. It's cold
world. But what piece of advice do you have for like aspiring to get in the post industry in general?
Well, first thing I would say is, one, don't give up. And a piece of advice that was given to me that I tell everyone that it completely rings true is that if you get out of line, it'll never be your turn. And so that's something that's always stayed with me. So it's like, no matter what, once you decide you are something, if you are a director or if you are a writer or you're an actor or you're an editor or whatever, determine in your mind that's what you are.
Okay.
And don't accept anything less. And it's going to be bumps while you're establishing yourself that. Yeah. Everybody know me as an editor.
Right.
Because I defined myself even before I had all these credits.
Yeah, there's no confusion.
I wasn't going to take any. I was like, no, I'm not going back because this is my path forward. So it's that and advice to give out. I had like 5 things to say.
Yeah, no, we got them.
Yeah. The second one, and this is something that, I had to do organically by myself, but find your tribe. Find network.
I like that.
Find your tribe. Yeah. Find people like you who are going through the same things or have gone through the same things. Excuse me. They say, mentoring and find a mentor and network, and all those words are really scary, right? That's so lame. Like, I was so adverse to networking when I first started in the industry. Like, these people, I don't know these people. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
How
like,
do I network?
Yeah,
how do I
like it's so weird. Like, but it's really you just make friends.
Yeah.
The best network is your friends. And that's not about like, I'm not talking about being fake. I hate when people call me and they want something and they try to small talk me first. And it's like, because then you're being fake.
Just come correct.
Just come tell me what you need or what, and I can help you more directly that way.
Yeah.
But then it's like, if we get engaged in small talk or whatever, it's because we're genuinely friends.
Yeah.
It's because I like you as a person.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't network or help anybody that I just didn't even like.
Right.
Like, I'm not that type of person. So, like, just make some friends, y'all.
No, and you've been super supportive of us, too, because I remember even starting Posting Black. Like, my brother had started it years ago, but we wanted to get it back going again. And I was like, man, you're not in LA anymore. And I'm meeting all these people at a higher level, but I'm an actor. I don't know. I'm doing the interviews, but I don't edit all the time. I edit my own stuff, but I don't want them looking. It was like you were like supporting, post in the group, but show some love, share this with people, show that. And you were always just supportive, invited to like a little cookout or whatever. And I'm like, man, it just gives so much ease.
Yeah.
And it's like even with my brother's mentor at the time with Terilyn, with her being at the level she was. when she kind of gave the arm around my brother, it's like everybody's like, oh, okay, and you kind of did the arm around for our show and just showing love, and it was like that's how it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Really, you know what I mean? And I think that's great.
And I think people, and when they come to Hollywood, you really have to understand, like, you have to understand the principles. Like, I'm gonna get a little metaphysical on you, but like, you know, the principle of just like manifestation and everything. You want all these things, but when you want and you need and you know, that means you're chasing it. You're pulling it away. You're tugging it. You're not flowing, right? And so when you're trying to network with people at with a goal to, oh, this person is at this company and I need to know them because I want a job, then you're a dork. You're just like you the people that don't that's the reason why people don't like Hollywood. Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's the reason why.
But see, I try to tell them you can smell that coming a mile away,
and anybody can. So my advice is just relax. Yeah. Be yourself. Some people will gel with you. Some people won't. Deal with the people who do. You know, find groups, find common things, and like once you make friends. Yeah. Your friends are your allies. Your friends are the people who are going to be successful. Yeah. They're going to take you with you. You're going to do things for them, and you have to create a community. To do this. You have, and I think people who are stagnant in their career and they haven't really, they're not as high up as they want to be. It's because they don't put themselves out there. They know the same 5 people they went to school with,
and it's not going to come to you. Yeah. You really, It may be uncomfortable, but you do have to extend yourself a little bit. You know what I mean? To that point. We're not going to keep you all day, but we got a couple more things I do want to tighten up with you.
Now I'm loosening up. Now ask me. Now I'm ready to share my story.
Yeah. Well, you've worked on a lot of different projects, and we always like to show, part of that. But what's like a memorable cut or something? Because obviously you worked on network, documentary. What's something that's memorable that sticks out to you over the years with all the projects you worked on that you're like, oh, I really enjoyed working on this particular project?
I don't know if enjoyed is the right word.
I got you.
It was difficult, but I think my crown and glory is episode 3 of We Need to Talk About Cosby. Yeah. And the particular scene where they're looking at Rudy lip sync to Night and Day on the iPads, and just layering the different reactions that the people were having in real time, knowing what they know now, and looking back at what it was. And it when I was editing it, it gave me the sense of like it was almost like a Jordan Peele moment, because it was like you're taking our childhood, but then we have this other thing that's true, and how do you marry those together? And you have people who looking at it, they're like smiling because it's television history. They did when they did the Night and Day, for the grandparents on the Cosby Show, Rudy. That's television history, right? And it was a part of my childhood. It shaped so many other people's childhood, and to take that and flip it on its head, and to kind of know like multiple things can be true at the same time. Yeah. It was deep. So I think that particular moment, and it was the first time like when I showed it, shout out to W. Kamau Bell. Shout out to all the producers and everything that were on that project, working with Boardwalk and Showtime and everything. When I showed it to them, because it was really hard, because I had to layer. Everybody's watching this scene on an iPad at the same time. It's like 5 different subjects, and they're all commenting on the same time. So I had to manually kind of sync those together in a multicam. Yeah. But like they're shot in different scenes, and like the music is playing in the background. So I had to sync all the music playing on all the different interviews, and like they're talking over each other, which bite is the best, and this and this and that. And I put a lot of work into it. And when I presented it, I was like, ta-da. And they were like, what is that? I was like, it's the cold open. And they were like, okay. And then I was like, okay, this is gonna be on Showtime. I just did a cold open for Showtime.
Right. On such a powerful project too,
And then like the executive producer, shout out to Katie King, her and Kamau were like, listen, we may have to cut this scene because they may not license it. They may not, it's going to be too much money. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Because you're talking about licensing the Ray Charles song and that clip.
Right.
You know? And so, like, I was like, oh, you know, I don't know if this is going to go. But then when it premiered in Sundance, they kept that scene.
Yeah.
And apparently Showtime was like, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll pay for it. So that it for that moment, it was kind of a definitive moment to me in the documentary. Yeah. And it's something that really sticks out. Like, that was one of the things that really messed with my head too.
No, it's a powerful project. It was unique and cool in a way when I saw, like, I was like, oh, Don worked on that? And it was just like, and I watched it, and then, like as you know, with my brother and I, our family being from Philadelphia, it's a weird, it's a weird thing, like Cosby, Philly, Cosby shows,
Temple,
classic Temple, you know what I mean? Like, and you're watching and you're like, I can't watch, but I can't take my eyes off of it. And I think it was well done. Take that project. It was well done. And so kudos to you. Kudos to you. I think I want to ask you another question here, and it's about your company. The Ujima Entertainment.
Yes.
Come on. We can't let you go without talking a little bit about that. Obviously the editing and all that, but you're a boss lady, boss woman.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your company as well?
Well, Ujima Entertainment Coalition is a 501c3 nonprofit for Black creative professionals. We like to make the distinction that we're for Black creative professionals. We are not people of color. We're not minorities. And nothing against that. And it does behoove us to be unified as, underrepresented groups, no matter what. But in this instance, especially, in post-production and production period, and in the world.
In the world. I was about to say, I was like, in the world. For real.
Black people face a unique set of biases. That are interwoven in American culture, period. Like, if you watch television in America, you may be racist. No fault of your own. But this is just what we've been fed. It's just these biases and these things. If you've never met a Black person in your life and you live somewhere in Iowa and you've only seen Black people on TV, you're going to think we are the wildest, craziest, that.
Yeah.
So, when you come to production and everybody's moving to LA, right?
Right.
And, you've got, Mark from Madison, Wisconsin, who's never interacted with Black people, and he comes to Hollywood, and all of a sudden, you're working with them. There's all these biases that have to be overcome, and we have to face these in real time and have to navigate them. And we're often left having to educate people, and just because, well, let me break down a few things. Like, shout out to my girl Shamika. I'm gonna use your name as an example. If you get a resume with Shamika on it,
right,
and you have a knee-jerk reaction, you may be anti-Black. Because if you equate that person identifying Black as a bad thing, there you have some kind of internalized bias.
Right.
And so we like to present that to people. And just because other people are minorities as well does not mean that they are not anti-Black. And so and so we created this safe space. We know that, we have allies. We love our allies. We work with them. We work with anybody who wants to work with us. But this space promotes Black excellence and really a safe space for Black people to come and realize that we're all going through the same thing. I talk to executives. I talk to lawyers. I talk to VPs. I talk to on all levels, the top of the top of the top of all these studios. And the Black executives are going through the same thing.
They go through it too.
They go through the same thing. They're fighting for us on another level, just in that boardroom. But, and we're going through the thing in the edit bay. So it's like, it's just, there's levels to it. So we created this space. I really created it just because of everything I had been through. Actually, okay, let me give the real origin story. This is when I was an assistant editor. No, I just got my first editing job. And I went to an AE mixer.
Yeah.
In in Van Nuys or somewhere in the Valley. And I go there and I'm the only Black person there.
Wow.
And I text Shannon Baker Davis.
Hey, shout out.
shout out to Shannon.
What's going on, Shannon?
And I text Mike Young. Shout out to Michael Young. And I'm just like literally like, Mayday, Mayday. I'm surrounded. I need backup. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday.
SOS.
So boom.
Save our sister.
Hey. So boom. They come down to the bar and they come join me or whatever. And it was like us three working this crowd of like 50. Wow. And it's just like, I made relationships there. I made contacts with people I still keep in touch with that day. But then I was like, I don't want to have to play beer pong in order to advance my career. Okay? Wow. I don't want to do that shit.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I don't like Star Wars, sorry guys. And I don't like beer. So that's like, and I don't play poker. So it's like, how do I connect with my colleagues? Right. I'm not being invited to happy hour.
Right.
When they go somewhere, they don't include me.
Right.
They I'll walk out and I'll be like, where did everybody go? And they're gone, And so I had to create a space for us. Yeah. And then at first it was just 30 people. And I was just going around Facebook and I was trying to find like all the editors I knew. Like,
on the low.
Hey you guys, hey, I started this thing. And then we had our first mixer. And it was at the Cork when the Cork existed because they wanted to do Black owned.
Back in the day. Okay, eating catfish nuggets and drinking Hennessy, but we had like 10 people come and it was great, and that's how it started. And from there, we're at 1,500 people. Come on now.
So it started in 2016, and I will say that from this point, from that point to this point, everyone who is in the group, everyone who is involved with them, everyone's career has changed. Everyone has elevated. Everyone's career has grown. Everybody who are engaged with us, people who are are actively engaged. Right. I'm not just saying just
because you're a member.
It ain't no magic touch.
Right.
But if people do the work and are looking, I don't know an AE that wasn't non-union that wanted to go to scripted that hasn't had that opportunity or is working on it now. And so we provide opportunities for people that you may not have because we're family. Yeah. And people might come to us before they go to the public to say, hey, listen.
They want to get the real because you have that connection, right, and that authentic connection.
And like, and it's in people, I people often talk about this, like there's, not stealing jobs, but like, there's not enough jobs to go around, or like, what about, like this white fragility about like, you're going to take my job and this and this and that. First of all, editors are only like 1% of the union. Come on. We're not called minorities for a reason. Like every Black person that works in Hollywood could be employed, and there's still going to be thousands of openings. Yeah. Just because we're not that big of the population.
Yeah, we're filming this. When this episode comes out, people are going to be watching and listening a little bit later. But we're filming this on the night of the Emmys, and all of our timelines on social media are filled with all the Black people that are going to the Emmys. But when you watch it on the show, you're like, man, all the people, our timeline could be filled. And you still look at the Emmys, it is full of white people.
It's still full.
We're still empty.
We're at the end of the day, 13% of the population? Right.
So it's still
just to ask for representation is not that big of a deal. It is, and here's the thing. Here's another thing. People have okay, let's say I'm Korean, right? Yeah. And I have a Korean business association. Yeah. Nobody's going to come to them and say, hey, why don't you let other people in that group? Yeah. Right. But people think that they can paternalize Black people and tell our culture what to do. Yeah. And that's still internalized white supremacy. That's saying, oh, you did and try to tell Black people what to do with ourselves. And so I had to create a space where we could share and vent what we were going through in real time, because it's so working in Hollywood is his own thing by itself. Right. It's his own monster by itself. Right. It's not like regular jobs. No, it's not. Then you get paid a lot of money, but there's a lot of bullshit that come with it. You go through it. Yeah. You earn that money. Yeah. And people were independent contractors, so people can let go of you at the drop of a hat. Right. For whatever reason. So there's so much emotionally that you have to go through. You have to be so resilient. And then, of course, we have to be the top. We can't, our mistakes are fatal. Yeah. If we make a mistake, it's no, let's course correct. It's that's your job.
They can't do the job.
Yeah. They can't. Oh, they don't know that. No, we got to get, there's no talking. Right. And so, you have to deal with all that. And then I feel like just with everything that we go through as a Black culture, we've gone through just everything we've gone through and the pandemic, you might be dealing with all that with some mental health issues. Come on. You may be dealing with you can't find a job for 3, 4, 5 months or whatever. You may be battling depression. Yeah. You may be discouraged. You may, and then having to get on a job, be perfect, deal with mental illness, deal with anxiety, with all these different things.
Dom, you why are you hitting on so many things? We got to bring you back. One of the things I want to say real quick before I find out even what else you're working on, and then we definitely gonna have to get you back in here. But one of the things you're touching on that just mentioned there is I had somebody stay with me. A young white man stayed with me during the course of George Floyd. Mm-hmm. And the course of doing my work, going to set, filming something, coming back, and then seeing on the news that somebody died. And he just walked in, he was like all chill, but I hear about everything. Right. Because I'm Black. Right. That we just know. Right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like we just know what's going on, and just to still have to be able to
operate. When your whole office is completely oblivious that someone has just been murdered.
And you have to, hey, what you getting for lunch? Right. You're like, man, they just killed somebody in Cincinnati. Right. I thought we handled that. We marched last week. No, that was the other Black guy. Right. It's like, you got to deal with that. And I tell somebody when they hopped on, it's like, oh, posting. I was like, no, there's a reason why it's called Posting Black. Right. You know what I mean? It's not offense to anybody. Is not Black. But it's not. You're 100%. Nah, I'm serious. We're going to have to get you on. But can you tell us what else you're working on? What can we look on? Where can people follow you? All that, social media.
They can follow me. You can add me on Facebook. I may not add you back, but you could try.
Sound like my mom. She add one person a month.
Right, like
800 friend requests.
I gotta vet you a little bit, but if you are interested in joining any of the groups, please search for Ujima Entertainment Coalition on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Mm-hmm. I don't have those handles right now, but it's Ujima.
We're gonna put them up there.
Yes, Ugima, Ujima Entertainment Coalition, and Ujima stands for collective responsibility. Yeah. So we are our brothers and sisters keeper.
I love it.
So that's the main tenet is each one teach one. We're here to help each other. We're here for everyone's careers to level up and just be a family and be that. I make people Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah. Hey, it's love.
If you can't go home, like if you stuck in LA and you can't go home, like you can hit me up and you can have Thanksgiving with me. We're family, and so if you want, if you can definitely look up the organization on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can add me personally. I'm going to have some personal things coming up that I may share with you before. When does this air?
It's going to air in a couple months. Actually a month or two.
Okay.
We'll
by the time I'll give you another handle that I'm working on. I'm working on my personal blog. Dom tried it. Okay. So if you follow my personal life, I'll be trying a lot of shit. Yeah. no pun intended, but Don be trying it.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
That's coming up. I'm working on that, but
Okay.
yeah, and then professionally, I have a lot of stuff coming up. I'm in talks for some a feature film documentary and some others. I had a meeting today with A24.
Come on.
Which is amazing. And
Yeah.
so, but that's, again, relationship building.
Yeah.
It's relationship building. So who knows? The next big thing, you got some money, get at me.
Come on. Hey, there's a lot of nuggets. And
Yeah.
we just appreciate you, Dom. This is a special time. And just thank you for everything you shared. I know a lot of people are going to enjoy this episode
you so much.
they love you. We love you.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
appreciate it.
I love everybody right back,
Yeah.
and that's real talk. And I want people to know that if you meet me in person and I don't necessarily recognize you or don't remember that we met or
Yeah.
that we haven't met because
Yeah.
I see you online and I think I know you in person, but actually you live in Atlanta or something like that.
Right.
Please forgive me.
Yeah, it's all
I know
love.
there's so many people that please forgive me, but like I'm always accessible. I'm always approachable.
Yeah.
And open. If you have a genuine question or if you just want to take a 15 with me,
She's open, y'all.
Yeah.
She's here.
Yeah.
Look, y'all, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much
No
for tuning
problem.
into another episode of Posting Black. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels and make sure you click that like and subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time on Posting Black. Stay black, y'all.